Greetings, YouTube. The doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And welcome back to the channel that brings power gaming to the next level. Today on the Doctor Spell Prognosis, we are talking about the spell Imprisonment. 9th level spell. We're giving this one a C. I want to like this spell, but there were some significant changes that were made to this spell between editions that I just don't like. That's why we're giving it a C. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when I have another video out. All right. So let's talk about the spell. It's a 9th level spell. It is usable by warlocks and wizards. It does a lot of stuff. So it has a casting time of 1 minute. And this is my big, giant problem with this spell. And we're going to talk about previous editions and why that is so detrimental to this. Range of 30 feet, verbal and somatic and material component. And the material component costs quite a bit. So a vellum depiction or a carved statuette in the likeness of the target and a special component that varies according to the version of the spell you choose, worth at least 500 gold pieces per hit die of the target. So if it is a 20 hit die, then it's 10,000 gold pieces. Okay. It lasts until dispelled. So you create a magical restraint of some kind. To hold a creature that you can see within range, the target must make a wisdom saving throw or be bound by the spell. If it succeeds, it is immune to this spell if you cast it again. So you get one chance, and that's it. While affected by this spell, the creature doesn't need to breathe, eat, drink, and doesn't age. Divination spells cannot locate or perceive the target. Okay, so when you cast the spell, after you take a full minute of casting, let's just put that out there, you choose one of the following forms of imprisonment. Burial. The target is entombed far beneath the earth in a sphere of magical force that is just large enough to contain the target. So the target can be any size. Nothing can pass through the sphere, nor can any creature teleport or use planar travel to get into or out of it, so it's stuck. And the special component for this is a small mithril orb. Chaining. Heavy chains firmly rooted to the ground hold the target in place. The target is restrained until the spell ends, and it cannot move or be moved by any means until then. Which my interpretation would be that includes all kinds of teleportations and planar travel, even though they don't say it. It is implied. Special component, fine chain of precious metal. Hedged prison. The spell transports the target to a tiny demi-plane that is warded against teleportation and planar travel. The demi-plane can be a labyrinth, cage, tower, similar confined structure or area of your choice. The special component for this is a miniature representation of the prison made from jade. Minimus containment. The target shrinks to a height of 1 inch and is imprisoned inside a gemstone or similar object. Light can pass through the gemstone normally, allowing the target to see out and creatures to see in, but nothing else can pass through, even by means of teleportation or planar travel. The gemstone cannot be cut or broken while the spell remains in effect. And of course, it's a transparent gemstone, such as a corundum. Corundums typically are not transparent. Diamond, yes. Ruby, yes. And corundums technically are rubies or sapphires, but that will not dwell on that. Slumber. The target falls asleep and cannot be awoken. The special component of this version of the spell consists of a rare soporific herb, which that to me means some kind of fungal herb. And then ending the spell. During the casting of the spell, in any of its versions, you can specify a condition that will cause the spell to end and release the target. The condition can be as specific or as elaborate as you choose, but the DM must agree that the condition is reasonable and has a likelihood of coming to pass. The conditions can be based on a creature's name, identity, or a deity, but otherwise must be based on an observable action or qualities and not based on intangibles such as level, class, or hit points. Okay, A Dispel magic can end the spell if it is cast at 9th level, targeting either the prison or the special component used. So you use the component, it doesn't go away. And then you can use a particular special component to create only one prison at a time. If you cast the spell again using the same component, the target of the first casting is immediately freed from its binding. So you could do Slumber, Minimus Containment, Hedged Prison, and Burial, all different, but you can't do like Burial twice or Slumber twice, okay? All right, so things I like about this spell and things I don't like about this spell. It's a wisdom saving throw. I like that. That's a pro. You have 5 different ways. Chaining, I don't think, is the greatest one unless you put them someplace that they can't get out of and that nobody knows about. So chaining is okay, but there are 5 different ways that you can imprison things. That's a pro. It's not concentration. That's a pro. It lasts essentially until dispelled, and it's really hard to dispel the spell. That's a pro. You can determine the methods for ending the spell. That's a pro. Now, some cons for this spell. The big, giant one is it takes 1 minute to cast. And I'm basing that off of, I don't like it, and I'm basing that, not liking it, off of context from the way that this spell was written in previous editions, and we're going to get into that. The material component, I don't like that either. It's a 9th level spell. I don't necessarily, it should be powerful, and it shouldn't cost that much. I don't like that either. Okay, I personally think this is a good adventure hook that can be used by DMs for players to either use this or to get something freed from this spell. You go on a, something happens to the princess or something, or there is a big bad that's imprisoned or a good guy that's imprisoned or something, and the players have to go and figure out how to get them out. They have to figure out some riddle that gives them the clues on what the condition is to get them out. They have to get some item to free the thing, etc., etc. So there is that. Now, I do want to look at some previous versions of this spell. So let's look at AD&D first. So here is imprisonment from the player's handbook. And it's got this very classic picture of this very mean-looking Minotaur. I don't know why the Minotaur is there, but it is there right above the imprisonment spell. And it's one of these reversible ones from AD&D, which means you can use it to free something called the Freedom Spell. So it is a 9-segment casting time, which essentially was a little less than a round, not a minute, a round. And it's a touch spell, whereas the imprisonment in 5e is a range of 30 feet. So when an imprisonment is cast and the victim is touched, the recipient is entombed in a state of suspended animation in a small sphere far below the surface of the earth, and they remain there unless a reverse of the spell with the creature's name and background is cast. Magical search by crystal ball or locate object spell or similar means will not reveal the fact that a creature is imprisoned. And then the freedom spell will cause the appearance of the victim at the spot. So there is a 10% chance that 1 to 100 other creatures will be freed from imprisonment at the same time. The magic user, which that's what they were called then, does not perfectly get the name and background of the creature to be freed. That's the freedom spell. So the spell only works if the name and background of the creature are known. So this one didn't take a minute to cast, and you just touch the creature. Okay, so that's AD&D. Let's look at 3.5. Here's the 3.5 spell. 9th level spell again, verbal and somatic component. 1 action casting time, touch. When you touch the opponent, they are entombed in a state of suspended animation in a small sphere below, far beneath the surface of the earth. It's basically the same as AD&D. The subject remains, and there's no saving throw. You just touch them and they're gone. And AD&D, also did not give a saving throw. So you just touched them and they were gone. But you did have to touch them. And then there was a freedom spell, which is this is not, they didn't have reversible spells in 3.5. You had to memorize that spell. And magical searches wouldn't find a wish or miracle spell will not free the recipient, but will reveal where it is entombed. So then you could use the freedom spell. And the imprisonment spell functions only if the target's name and some facts about its life are known. You could get those pretty easily from like a legend lore. So it's very different from this 3.5 version of the spell. Now, what are some ways in which we could maximize our chances of being able to get this thing to sit here for a minute while we cast the spell? Well, Dominate Monster lasts for an hour. It is an 8th level spell, and you could just tell it to sit down and sit quietly until you're done casting this spell. Then it gets a saving throw. If it fails, then it's gone. If it passes, well, it's still dominated, but it's immune to imprisonment. If it's a humanoid, you could cast Dominate Person. This only lasts for a minute, but if you cast it at 6th level, it lasts for 10 minutes, which is more than enough time you need to cast imprisonment. But you need to line up all of these components beforehand before you do this. You could cast Suggestion, which lasts for 8 hours. Again, you could say, sit down, be quiet, wait for further instructions, blah, blah, blah. And then you could just cast the imprisonment spell and be done with it. Now, of course, one of my favorite schools, because it is a wizard spell, is a school of divination with the portent. You get 3 dice, and one of those dice is probably going to be pretty low, and your saving throw should be around a 20, 21 at this level. And you cast your imprisonment after you've dominated them or suggested them, so they're sitting quietly. You cast the imprisonment, and you hand them that low roll, and then they're imprisoned because they fail their save. If you happen to have a bard in the party who can cast Unsettling Words, Bard of Eloquence, you could do the same thing with that. So there are ways to get around this. It's just going to take a little time and a little planning, but I don't like that. I think as a 9th level spell, they should have left the 1 action casting time alone, and instead of 30 feet, they should have made the range touch. Period. End of story. That's it. No saving throw. You're imprisoned. But you have to touch them. You have to hit them. All right, that's what I got for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody later.